Bears Nation podcast. It is July 28th. Bears Nation podcast after dark, officially. Minus John, as we're still working out contract details. I don't know. That's probably not right. But anyway, we are here. We're a little bit later than usual. Anyway, for those of you that heard that open, sorry to the Twitch streamers, not streamers, we're the streamers, Twitch viewers. You did not hear the open because we are, not sure, when we could get that in streamer because we are not tech geniuses. So anyway, I'm here. Here we go. Okay. And yeah, so Kevin,
dude, let's go. Let's go, man. I'm excited. We've been waiting for this for a real long time. It seems like all this no news it's been hard for us, Jake. We had to come on this freaking mic every week and just spew bullshit about whatever the heck, predictions and all this stuff. But now we actually have things to talk about. Like all these listeners are probably like, okay, for so long now, all we're hearing is smoke out of their mouths, all this crap about, me talking about whatever, Jake talking whatever. Now we're into the real. We're into the thick of it. We're into the real stuff. So I'm excited, man. We don't get a lot because the Bears, for some reason, are weird and they don't allow the media to tell you anything or film anything or see anything. And for some reason, that's unique to that organization. This is not a league rule. This is the Bears organization's rule. So screw that. But I'm excited, Jake. I'm excited.
No, it's great. We finally, like you said, we get to talk about stuff for the first time. We get actual things, actual results, actual pads on pads, actual guys going against each other. Really exciting. We actually get to see Justin Fields in action with the veterans. We get to see Justin Fields with the whole team. We get to see the defense. Eddie Goldman's back. We get to see, guys like Khalil Mack at full health. We get all the veterans finally in one room. It's perfect. It's really exciting, and we're really excited to get talking about it. But first things first. Finally, our longtime national nightmare has ended. Anthony Miller is no longer Chicago Bear. I am so stoked about this. Finally, this guy, this absolute just bum. No business being on a football field. No business being on a football field ever since his rookie year. Just the guy stinks, Kevin. The guy stinks. The annual, and I made this a joke, and it wasn't even really a joke. The annual Anthony Miller weeks 13 to 17 breakout we didn't even get that this past season. We didn't even get that in 2020, 2021. So he's finally gone. The Bears somehow got a 5th round pick back for him. And I honestly think that, outside of Justin Fields being drafted, this is a top 3, top 4 thing that is going to happen to this offense. Anthony Miller being gone. I legitimately believe that.
So wow, that's like bold. That's pretty bold, dude. That's pretty bold. So
let me tell you why. Like this isn't just me. Like because obviously like my disdain for Anthony Miller is well known. Like I've been anti Anthony Miller since before he even got ejected from that playoff game. Since before any of his antics, anything. What happened with this offense was for so long, Matt Nagy and co. tried to justify Anthony Miller's draft position, traded up into the 2nd round for him, came up for him, lived up to it his rookie year, and has since just been kaput. Now that guy is gone, you can finally just let things. You can let other guys try and earn their keep. You can let Riley Ridley try and get some keep. You don't have to worry about Anthony Miller taking snaps away from Marquise Goodwin or Damiere Byrd. Like you can let these guys eat and just scheme how you want to scheme. You don't have to be like, hey, we have this former 2nd round pick now, and we got to justify his draft position because we gave up assets for him, and he's got that's out. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So now you can just scheme and do things how you want to do it. You don't have to, because even if and obviously Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy will get up there and they'll say, we would never do that. We would never scheme to one player. We would never do that. We would, let the game come to them, blah, 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 blah. They'll say that forever. The thing is, even subconsciously, you gave up assets for that guy and you've seen that guy perform. You're going to try and get that production again. You're going to try and justify all that. So now that he's gone, you don't have to do that. You don't have to force the issue. You don't have to force a square block into a circle hole.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's why I think that Anthony Miller leaving could be one of the most beneficial things for this offense, especially if and when Justin Fields takes over this offense and doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
I mean, you make a good point. I mean, it's about opportunities for other guys. And the thing about Anthony Miller was in his career here was you saw the potential. You saw the athleticism.
Right.
You know, everyone was hung up on what he did in college. The dude went absolutely ballistic in college, and people were still in love with what he could become, right? And there was that hope of what he could become. Sort of the same way of how people started to think about Mitch Trubisky at the end of his Bears tenure. You know, what could he still become? Is that potential still there? Can we squeeze something out of him? But it never came. And the last thing I would have wanted is for them to try to squeeze the last thing out of him this year when it wasn't really necessary. And quite frankly, for his part as well. I mean, this was a thing where I think Anthony Miller knew, you know, it was a change of scenery was necessary for him. It wasn't just necessary for the Bears, it was necessary for him. Now he goes to a team in Houston, which isn't really in the greatest situation as far as their quarterback situation. But, you know, regardless, sometimes just going to a different organization, a different team, a different city is fine for a player. And both sides, it works out in this case. And you mentioned the value. You got great value back for Anthony Miller. Everybody wants to say, well, this trade is horrible because we had to trade up into the second round. You evaluate trades based off of their current value, not based off of their draft value. If you evaluated every trade in NFL history based off of the value from when they were drafted, every trade would look lopsided because players either overachieve or underachieve expectation. And that's the case. So for them to get a fifth back, like, that's really good.
That was, you know, and that's what stood out to me too. Like, I was pretty stunned, not stunned, but surprised that they were able to get a fifth back from him. Cause I assumed like, okay, you might get a seventh or a sixth, like a fifth is a decent pick. Like Jordan Howard has come out of the fifth, right? Jordan Howard came out of the fifth. Darnell Mooney came out of the fifth or fourth?
Yes, Darnell Mooney came out of the fifth.
So like there are good players that come out of the fifth round, and like you could and especially in deep drafts, like, and Ryan Pace has shown like you can get value there. So what, you give up a seventh. Nobody cares about giving up a seventh. You could get that back for Nick Foles whenever you end up trading him once someone gets hurt in the middle of the season. Like getting a fifth pick, I was like, okay, like, yeah, I know Anthony Miller was pick what, 50, something like that, 51,
yeah, something
exactly. Like that. Like bottom half-ish of the second round, and you got a fifth round pick back, like that's decent value. That's a legitimate trade chip if you decide to use it further down the line.
Well, yeah, if they decide to do that.
In a possible Xavier Howard trade.
Oh God, now we're gonna go. This is what I love about Bears fans, though, because like they're not signing JV. They're not trading for Xavier Howard or Xavier. Sorry, they're not trading for. It's not. No. It's not happening because they don't have the assets to do it. But every single person is going to sit on this app of Twitter called Twitter and say, "Hey, Xavier Howard to the Bears." You know, question mark. Is it going to happen? Bears. You know, every time, Jake. Whether it's a player who's completely out of reach or not, it's just anytime that tweet from Aaron Schefter comes out, it's like, Bears.
Okay,
maybe?
but
I don't know.
But people thought Khalil Mack was out of the question until that happened too.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is,
here's the thing with Ryan Pace. I'm never gonna say that somebody is out of reach when it comes while Ryan Pace is in charge of this front office. I'm never gonna say that somebody is out of reach. He made Khalil Mack happen, made Justin Fields happen. Those are two, like, neither of us thought Justin Fields was realistically going to happen before the draft. I mean, you weren't on the show at the time, but I don't think any of us thought that Khalil Mack was going to happen when those rumors were going around. Like, I think we all thought he'd end up a Packer. So I think that while Ryan Pace is in charge of this organization, I'm never going to count him out for getting a star caliber player or at least a Pro Bowl caliber player while he has assets that he can use.
Well, but okay, while he has assets that he can use, yes, the Khalil Mack trade, he had first-round picks to work with. He had picks to work with. You don't have a first-round pick next year. You have one in 2023, but Xavier Howard is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL right now. You have to give up a first-round pick. I don't know if he is willing to give up a first-round pick in 2023 just to have Xavier Howard on the team this year. Does that give you a boost? Yes, but if you do that, it means you're going absolutely all in. It means you're absolutely going all in the Super Bowl this year, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but I don't think I would be appalled. I would be absolutely appalled if they traded for Xavier Howard, because I just don't think they can do it with what they're given, because that is the best, arguably the best cornerback in football who's going to be asking. And Miami doesn't, like, the thing is, this is he requested a trade. This isn't a mutual thing. So Miami, if like they might not want to get rid of him, but if they do, like they know how valuable he is to their team, a team that they believe is going to be, pretty good in the coming years, whether Tua Tagovailoa takes that leap, but they're going to ask for more because it's not a player they really want to trade. So they're going to have an enticing deal. What
I would say to that, though, is that was the same situation with Mika Fitzpatrick, though.
Well, what did he go for? I mean,
he went for one first. I think Pittsburgh only gave up one first. Granted, they probably gave up on a bunch of other stuff, but I think the only real asset they gave up was one first-round pick. Research and development team is on it right now. I'm almost positive they only gave up one first. Okay. Dolphins safety was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers along with a 2020 4th round and a 2021 7th round in exchange for a first and 5th round pick in 2021.
Okay. So
a first and 5th in 2020, a first and a 5th, and then a future 6th. So
okay. Wow.
You just got an extra 5th. You just got an extra 5th sent to you.
So you're telling me you'd be okay with trading the 2023 first rounder that we do have, right? I'm not tripping. We do have that first rounder. Okay, because we only gave up the first rounder for Fields in 2022. Okay, so 2023 first rounder, this year's 5th, and then throw in a 6th in 2023. And you're okay with that? That's a good trade for you?
I like what? You hope that first round, best case scenario, you hope that pick turns into Xavier Howard. No?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think that's the thing is down the road in 2 years, cornerback might be a position you're drafting for in the first round. So I could see that.
Okay, but what if you can re-sign Howard though?
No. I know that I'm using that to say that I would be okay with the trade if that's the case. Because if you were, I'm looking at how old he is though, because that plays a role. He's 28. So I
think he's relatively
he's 28. Young. So that's not bad. He's got probably 4 to 5 years left of his prime. I don't know. We're probably.
But also, if you win a Super Bowl,
I know. But look, Jake. We've
talked about it. We talked about it. Your window is now.
Wait, since when is our window now to you?
Well, I guess Justin Fields extends that. Yeah, we've gone back and forth on this topic so many times. I guess the Justin Fields pick does extend that a little bit,
right?
But with the current defense as it's constructed now, with Allen Robinson on the franchise tag, and you're not sure if you're going to get him to an extension, the way you are currently set up, your window is the next couple years. I don't know.
No, it is. The window is probably the next 8 years, honestly, if I'm being honest.
8?
I mean, with Justin Fields as the quarterback, you should be a contender for the next 8 years,
Kevin.
I mean, it's hard to predict that far into the future, but the constant of a quarterback allows you to keep that window open more than
Kevin. In 8 years, I'm going to be 31 years old,
and Justin Fields is still going to be the best quarterback in the NFL at that time.
But that's such an outrageous amount of time.
I know. But the reason why I say that is because a constant good quarterback will keep you in the mix for that long. I mean, look at time and time again. You see it. Even the Seahawks, when they lost their defense and when things started to crumble, they're still a contender with Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, this is going to be a good segue because we're going to talk about that next, is, although they had some tough teams, they're always a contender and people always thought highly of them because of that quarterback. If you have a good quarterback, you will be in the mix for as long as that quarterback is on your team. That's just the way it works in the NFL for the most part, as long as you have a competent organization to surround them with the right pieces. So look, I've been all in. And if they signed Xavier Howard and said, let's make a Super Bowl run this year, okay, sign me up. That's what I've been clamoring for forever. Obviously, that's the case, but there's a lot. There's a lot that has to go into that. Would Justin Fields be the starter in that case? What is going through the minds of Matt Nagy and them if they decide to kind of, I mean, obviously that's the goal, right? To win a Super Bowl. But when you make a move for Xavier Howard, it elevates that. So I don't know. Let's talk Aaron Rodgers, okay? Because this is an interesting situation. And the reason why they might be open for the next 8 years for that window is because Aaron Rodgers won't be there for the next 8 years. He might be there this year, but not after that. And boy, did he go off today in the press conferences. And look, we have hated Aaron Rodgers forever.
Real quick, because I had this discussion with a couple of you. Aaron Rodgers is one of probably 5 guys that could tear their front office apart like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Rodgers, Mahomes, Brady, Wilson, maybe Lamar Jackson, but I don't even think I wouldn't even include him in that.
No.
So like, there's 4 guys that could do that in the NFL. I would probably put Aaron Donald up there.
Yeah,
I think he has enough leverage.
Yeah, I think he does as well. But it's I look. This is one of the weirdest situations that I've seen from like an off-season football standpoint in a long time. And it's been joyous for Bears fans. I mean, this has been great. I mean, I've been enjoying every single thing I've seen from this. First, it was Aaron Rodgers. Then a few days or like a week ago, it was Devontae Adams isn't interested in re-signing. And then the linebackers, Zadarius Smith isn't. Like, this has been great. But of course, he decides to show up. But this is the thing. Like, Packers fans are getting on their high horse again. All right, Aaron Rodgers is here, 2021. This is our year. Yeah, this is our year. That's what you guys have said every year. And you still have just as many Super Bowls as Joe Flacco. And Rodgers, I think, has just as many NFC Championship wins as Rex Grossman, which is a glorious stat. But the thing that irks me is they are branding this as the Last Dance.
Yeah, obviously, that's
crazy. Using the Bulls documentary last year, saying, it's Rodgers and it's Devontae Adams. They both posted on their Instagram story, The Last Dance. We're going to do it one last time, 2021. It's going to be great. First of all, in order to have the last dance, you must have had to have the first dance. You guys have never won a Super Bowl together, Rodgers and Adams. It hasn't happened, okay? There was no first dance. How can there be a last dance? Like, this is not the same. You are not Michael Jordan. You have one ring. Let's stop with the last dance comparisons. But with that being said, again, Packer fans are getting on their high horse. Jake, I don't know how – I don't see a scenario how this ends well this year for the Packers. Like, the thing that you have to remember is people are going to say, okay, the organization and the players are different in this situation because the players can play for themselves, right? Like, the owner isn't on the field playing on Sundays, but the coach is. And the coach is more a byproduct of the organization and the upper management than it is a byproduct of the players. And we've known that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers haven't really been on the same page since they've been there. We've seen the videos, we've heard the clips. They have not been on the same page. I don't see any situation where this does not fracture even more between Rodgers and LaFleur, and that's the most important. It's the most important relationship in all of sports. Maybe not for Aaron Rodgers, but in general, that's the most important relationship in all sports: the quarterback and the head coach in the NFL. And if they're truly fractured, I don't know if that's conducive to winning football for them.
So here's the thing. So a couple things. Like, first of all, the LaFleur and Rodgers thing. Yeah, they don't like each other and they don't see eye to eye. They still won 26 games over the last 2 years. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's so insane and so scary also. Also, the last dance thing. I'm not as peeved about it because, like, I get wanting to make the comparison. What I choose to look at in that scenario is you have your reigning MVP quarterback and your reigning top receiver, who is one of the top receivers in the league, both saying, hey, we're gone after this year. That's what I'm going to choose to focus on. Like, all right, cool. You can have this year. And all right, we have Andy Dalton, whatever. You want to make fun of us, punch down, go ahead. Like, next year, you guys got MVS and Jordan Love as your top 2 options. Like, good luck, pals. Like, you can have it this year. Fine. Awesome. And I do think Justin Fields will come in probably by week 5 or 6, and the Bears are going to be a more competitive team than you think. Great. Cool. You could clown the Bears all you want for, Mitch Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles. All right, cool. Whatever. You're done next year, pal. Enjoy it while you can, because you are on borrowed time right now. Like, the clock is ticking for you, my friend. Like, you're out of here. That's what I'm choosing to focus on. Like, of course, Chicago people are like, oh, the West Dance, how dare you, Michael Jordan, whatever. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams publicly announced, hey, we're gone. This is it.
Yes.
This is the last chance. And that's why it's also scary, though, because you have ticked off Aaron Rodgers, which you saw last year, and he won the damn MVP. And now he's probably walking into Matt LaFleur's office and saying, I'm out of here next year. Let's get on the same page. You're done. We don't have to work together anymore. We don't have to see each other. We don't have to do anything together after this year. Let's go win a damn Super Bowl out of spite for ownership, for everybody. Screw them all. Scorched earth. Let's do the damn thing. The Packers are bending so far over backwards that their heads are up their own asses so much they're trading assets for Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb. Like, granted, he's still only 31, and, like, yeah, probably being with Aaron Rodgers is going to make him better. But that's where Packers ownership is right now. And I can totally see Aaron Rodgers being the petty enough guy to look Matt LaFleur in the face and say, hey, man, We don't have to work together after this year. Let's suck it up for one more year and do the damn thing. We can both walk away happy. That's scary to me.
It is a little bit scary. No, I get nervous about it, but the problem is, like, if you want to let's relate it to the Bulls, right? Just because that is a situation I do want to relate to the Bulls for this. Like, it was players versus management in that same situation. And the Bulls in what year was that? 95 or 98? Sorry, 98. But the problem was, or the key thing for them was, it was Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson as a tandem. Like, he didn't want to go anywhere. The reason he was so upset is because they didn't want to re-sign Phil Jackson. It was that relationship that was them versus the upper management. It isn't like this between, I'm crossing my fingers, it isn't like this between Rodgers and LaFleur. It's not Rodgers and LaFleur versus management. It's Rodgers and the rest of the team versus LaFleur and the management. That's truly the way I think it is, because he has no allegiance to LaFleur. Why does he care? It doesn't matter what coach he has.
I think like LaFleur's a neutral entity here. I don't think they're against LaFleur. I think he's a neutral entity in all this.
I mean,
that's what I mean. I don't think it's fair to say the team against LaFleur management. I think it's fair to say the players against management. I think LaFleur's just over there doing the best he can with what he's got. I think he's a neutral entity. Just like, guys, come on. Like, can we please just get this together? Because he's there regardless. He's stuck. So when Rodgers is gone, he's going to say, okay, I can make this work. Like, it's the players against the front office. And then LaFleur is just kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah, but like, stuck in the middle, if you stuck in the middle, it doesn't do you anything good though. Like, that you have to be like, Aaron Rodgers was on the verge of retirement. Like, this dude was on the verge of retiring from football. No, he said it in the press conference. He said he thought about retiring. He said he seriously considered it. Like, he was on the verge of doing that, and like, him working with Matt LaFleur, like, oh, Matt LaFleur is there. Like, it's not, I don't know. I just think we're probably looking too deep into this. I just think that relationship, we know historically in football, that relationship is very important. And I think that relationship might have been fractured even more. Heck, LaFleur is thinking for the past 4 months now that Jordan Love's his starting quarterback. Like, he's probably been game planning for that, doing his homework at home about how to prepare Jordan Love the best that he can, or even heck, Blake Bortles for that matter, right? And then, out comes Aaron Rodgers again. Like, I don't know. It's not a good situation for them at all, especially like you mentioned. Like, we should be talking more about what is going. Like, this is their last year. Like, after this, the nightmares are over. He's gone.
And that's the thing.
After 2022,
and that's the thing for me. Like, that relationship is fractured. They don't like it, and they were still able to win 13 games each of the last 2 years. Like, that's terrifying. I know. So if they can unite at all, if they can find common ground at all on the, okay, let's go win a Super Bowl before I get out of here. Terrifying. But I mean, like you said, we're reading way too deep into this. It's one press conference. There hasn't even been a single snap taken in real game action, even in the preseason yet. So we're reading way too deep into this. One thing we could all agree on is Aaron Rodgers is a total dork for wearing that The Office shirt.
Yeah,
that was so lame. That was so lame. Anyway, all right. I'm tired of talking about Aaron Rodgers. I want to talk about the Bears now. All right. Yes. Let's talk about training camp. Let's start with, I think, one of the biggest things. Eddie Goldman's back.
Yes, sir.
And Josh Woods was on here last week, was telling us how much Eddie Goldman anchors that defense, how much he means. Roquan Smith was at the podium today saying that he's such a big body, he just commands double teams, allows the linebackers, himself, Roquan Smith included, to just go around and make plays. Mm-hmm. This is big because obviously Eddie Goldman was a Pro Bowl nose tackle, means a lot to the team. I mean, there were legitimate concerns that he wasn't going to show up. Like, people were legitimately wondering, like, hey, are we going to have Eddie in the building this year? And for him to show up, Nagy and Pace didn't even know when they were up there because they didn't even know at the time. He wasn't even in the building yet. And then Roquan Smith had to break the news, like, oh, yeah, Eddie's here. Yeah. That's huge. Like, the fact that he's there is very big for this defense. We saw what happened without him. We saw what happened with him and Akeem Hicks out. So to have both of those guys back, but Eddie Goldman in there commanding double teams especially, I think it's going to be very good for the linebackers. It's going to be very good for Khalil Mack and very good for trickle-down effect Robert Quinn.
What's been incredible to me is seeing the testaments from his teammates. I mean, it's not just been Josh Woods on our show. It was Khalil Mack who said today. You already mentioned Roquan Smith. Everybody says, like, how important. I think it just kind of put in perspective to me how important he is to this defense.
Yeah.
When you think of a nose tackle, you just kind of think, oh, he's going to get pressure. He's going to command some double teams. You don't think that the influence of a nose tackle or a defensive tackle is going to be that great, right? As much on defense, unless you are an Aaron Donald or somebody, or an Akeem Hicks, which I think Eddie Goldman is around, if not at the same level or above. Yeah, Chandler Jones. But when you think of defensive front sevens, typically it's the edge rushers that command more of the attention and are more of influence on the defense. But I don't know if that's the case here. I mean, we've seen them load up with edge rushers, say, you know what, we're going to have Khalil Mack on one side, Robert Quinn on the other. How are the conversation for us last year was, how are they going to guard everybody? How are they going to double team Khalil Mack and leave Robert Quinn one-on-one on the other side? This is going to be great. And you saw what happened. So I think that we have underestimated the past few years the influence of Eddie Goldman, and him being back is really what's going to elevate this defense back to top 5. I mean, I think that's a real possibility, and obviously that's the case, but I just didn't realize that until this year, how important he is. So yes, we are very thankful he's back, because he did consider retirement. He said he did consider, not showing up to camp. He was very skeptical, but he said also last year it killed him not being out there. And he said every game that he watched, especially when they made the playoffs, it killed him not to be on the field with his teammates. He obviously made that decision for his health. All respect to him for that. But he said it hurt him. And I think that says a lot that, he really wants to be here. Because there's questions about, well, does he really want to be here? He doesn't want to show up. He didn't play last year. Does he really want to be here? I think that testament says he really does want to be here. He wants to play for his organization. He wants to play hard for his teammates, and that's what he's going to do. So could not be happier he's back. His influence on the defense is underestimated, especially the thing you mentioned too. Injuries will happen. Akeem Hicks will go down for at least 2 games this year. I probably guarantee it. He's going to have a nagging, some sort of injury. It happens every year. Some guy is going to go down with some sort of something. I hope it's not significant, but back pain, somebody's got something, you know what I mean? So to have that depth, and now you've got Bilal Nichols right there, just like as a depth piece, and that's a really good, young, talented player who's there as a depth piece. So a depth piece. So that's huge news. Eddie Goldman being back is huge news. And you have the evidence for it.
Right. I mean, when you could get your stars, and I mean, Eddie Goldman might not be a star, but he's damn close. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. Yes. I mean, that's huge. And I mean, that helps the linebackers out too, as far as pressure. And Roquan Smith said that for them making plays. But one linebacker, it's not Roquan Smith who I want to talk about. Danny Trevathan, we talked about him. Josh Woods was here last week. Like we said, he was singing Danny Trevathan's praises, saying that Danny's the best. He's a great mentor. He's a great, person to talk to. We have been not kind to Danny Trevathan on this program before.
Oh, come on. We're very kind. When have we not been kind?
You have not been the tape on that. I have been critical of Danny Trevathan, especially at the beginning of last season when he was blatantly getting blown out in coverage and blatantly looked very slow. Even in the Saints game Saints game didn't look great. Was getting beat over the middle. I always hate this because it's this time of year when, best shape of his life, looks great. Yeah. Awesome. Is the best.
You're worried about him?
I'm not worried about him. It's just, I hate a guy who's over 30. He's been here for a while now. Danny Trevathan has been a very solid player, very solid Bear, has had a very good career. He was 16th in passes defense last year, which I did not know. I would have never guessed that. Yeah, I know. My reaction exactly. Thank you. My reaction exactly. 16th in passes
in the league.
Yeah, among linebackers. So. He was 23rd in tackles. Danny Trevathan actually had a decent year. I think just some of the plays he gave up in which he got exposed against in both Packers games, in the Saints games, early in the season. That is what we remember. I think that I hate giving credibility to best shape of his life talk because we always get that every offseason, especially from guys who are a little bit older. But that, and also Roquan Smith, if he's around for the full season, obviously Roquan got hurt. I think if Roquan is there for the full season and this another year of development for him, he's a fast guy. You can maybe mask Danny Trevathan's coverage issues a little bit more. And And obviously losing Fuller hurts. Like that's, you're not going to be able to mask a linebacker in coverage as much as you would be. However, that being said, I think Sean Desai is going to be more conservative with using Robert Quinn in coverage. And so I think that'll allow a little bit more for Danny Trevathan to kind of go back into that role of a linebacker, not have to be in coverage as much. So, and the thing is with that pass defense that I brought up, like, he did get better as the year went on. Like, he got blown out a couple years early against the Packers. He got exposed a couple times, but that's Aaron Rodgers. He won the MVP. I give a little bit more credibility than I usually would to Nagy, saying, like, Nagy went up to the podium and he said, yeah, I haven't seen him yet, but there have been people on the staff who have seen him and said he looks great. I give a little bit more credibility to that just because of those other peripheral factors, if you know what I mean. So, like, I'm not worried. Like, you asked if I'm worried about him. I'm not worried about him because because Danny Trevathan's a pro and he's played at a high level for a long time. So I still think that there's skill there and there's talent there and he can produce. Yes. Like, I don't think he's as good as he was, let's say, 3 years ago, but I don't think he's as bad as he was when he got exposed by Aaron Rodgers. I think he's somewhere in the middle, but you have Roquan Smith who can kind of balance those scales a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, you're totally right. And that's important, but it's also a scheme thing. You mentioned Sean Desai. I think that's more important. Why the hell Danny Trevathan should never be man-to-man on a tight end. Danny Trevathan should never be man-to-man on a running back. It's just, it can't happen anymore. The tight end linebacker is one of the biggest mismatches in all of football. And especially if you have, you got to see TJ Hawkinson twice a year, Robert Tonyan in Green Bay, Kyle Rudolph. Is he still in Minnesota? I think so, right? I don't know. Don't take my word for that, but he might have retired.
He might have. I'm not kidding.
But that was where you saw most of the mismatch comes through.
No, Kyle Rudolph plays for the Giants now.
Yeah, I figured he was
a free agent.
So I don't know who that. Irv Smith Jr. That's who's over in Minnesota now. But you know what I'm trying to say. Like, Dan Trevathan was constantly getting lined up with those guys and was, just getting blown out. So it's a scheme thing too, but you're right. I mean, having a Roquan Smith to your side alleviates some of that. I would like to see more Dan Trevathan blitzes. He's been pretty successful on those in his career. But the thing is, it's not, again, Jake, it's not about his X's and O's. We have that testament from Josh Woods. It's not about his X's and O's as much as it is his leadership ability. And as a rock on that defense, I mean, the way Josh Woods described it was this defense would basically be lost without him. It seemed like, from a leadership standpoint, from just that veteran presence standpoint. So he is an important piece to be there. And he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field. And that's the one thing where you say when people say they're in the best shape of their lives, okay, yeah, every player comes into training camp looking a little bit better because they work out, they, do what they need to do to get prepared. That's typically the case. But if he truly is in the best shape of his life, that's going to help injury prevention. And that's obviously one of the biggest things that has hampered him the past 3 years of his career here with the Bears, is just staying on the field. So as long as he can stay on the field and be that rock next to Roquan, be that guy who can just be good enough, I think you're just fine with that. But with that being said, like, Christian Jones needs to step up. Josh Woods needs to have a developmental year, because if one of those guys goes down, or if Danny is just getting a little bit slow in week 3 and they need a change, which could be the case, we know that could be the case, then you have to make a switch. You can't continue to have a liability there at one of the most important positions on the defense. So, yes, that's going to be an important position to watch out for in training camp, to look out for. Linebacker, how will those guys produce? Will they bring in somebody else? I think there's still a few free agent linebackers out there that you can bring in, but right now, Roquan and Danny, I'm fine with that for now. I'm 1,000%. Fine with that.
Yeah, you feel comfortable with that. Speaking of injuries, possible injuries in training camp, let's start talking about training camp and a couple things, just housekeeping. Daz Newsome and Tariq Cohen opened the season on the PUP list. Not really surprising. Cohen's still obviously rehabbing that ACL. Daz, friend of the program, obviously still rehabbing that broken collarbone, right? Collarbone? Yeah, broken collarbone. So that's not surprising. Keep those spots on the roster open for guys you might want to see, and before the first round of cuts. See what you see from those guys and then go from there. Not really surprising. Gives guys like Khalil Herbert a chance to win the punt return job. Gives guys like Riley Ridley and Javon Wims to prove their worth in the slot or at the wide receiver position on the outside. So, I mean, that's not concerning. I'm not concerned about either of those guys starting on the PUP list.
No, you shouldn't be at all. It's Tariq Cohen's gonna be out longer, I think, than will Daz Newsome, is what it kind of made it sound like. Because you don't want to mess with an ACL. You need that thing to fully heal if you want him to be the player
especially
he was.
Someone as explosive as Tariq Cohen.
Exactly. Yeah. You need that thing healthy. We've seen, Chicago fans are very familiar with what ACLs can do to their franchise players. I'm not saying Tariq Cohen's a franchise player, but Derrick Rose is on the top of everybody's mind when you think of that. And when what it can do to somebody's career. So hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully it clears it. But you're right about the opportunities. And this is important because not only is it Khalil Herbert, but you have to look at the wide receiver room. Anthony Miller's gone. Daz Newsome's out. Who is going to step up? And maybe Javon Williams takes a giant leap. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I'm giving up on that hope. But Riley Ridley, this is his time to do it. If there was any time, it's now. And if we don't see anything from him now, cut him. I don't curtains. I agree. Like literally. I mean, I sorry. And it's literally nothing against Riley Ridley. Like I really don't know. I have no answers. No one has any answers.
Because no one's seen him.
No one's seen him. So I guess in that case, blame the coaching staff for not putting him out there. But this has to be his chance. This has to be his opportunity. I've given up most of. This is what, third year now? Yeah, I think third year. I've given up most of my hope that he can be anything more than a 400-yard receiver. I think at this point. And I don't think there's
anything high. Seems high.
Well, exactly. But for a 4th-round guy, like that is where you should be, if not a little bit more,
I would
especially
say higher,
given, if not higher at this point in their career. So at least, like, I'm not asking for anything more. Let's just at least see him on the field. Let's see him on the practice field. See him catching a ball from whoever it is, Dalton or Fields. This is his chance. And if he doesn't get it now, you're right. Curtains. It just unfortunately would have to be the end.
No, so. I'm totally with you. I mean, and we've joked about Riley Ridley. My bold prediction was Riley Ridley earns at least one compliment from the coaching staff.
A gold star.
But that's also like me kind of hoping for that because he is a 4th-round pick and he's the brother of Calvin Ridley. And like he has the physical traits there. So why haven't we seen this guy at all? Like what is so wrong with this guy's game that we haven't seen anything from him, that he can't even that he can't even be active on game days? Yeah. What's the story? What is the story here? Like, what's going on here with this guy? Like, and we said it last season during the season. Is it he's not getting the playbook? Is he just like we had no answers. There was nothing. And the thing is, and I don't have a lot of confidence for him even making it to preseason game 1, which is in 3 weeks, because the first guys that got brought up by Matt Nagy in today's press conference when he's talking about guys that are going to have opportunity in the slot with Cohen out and Miller gone was the 2 newbies, Goodwin and Bird. Like those were the first 2 named he mentioned ahead of Javon Williams, of course, because Javon Williams is a bum and is a 7th-round pick. And that guy should have been gone a long time ago. Yeah. And ahead of Riley Ridley, like something isn't right here. Like that should not be happening for a guy who's in his 3rd year, was a 4th-round pick who you would expect, like you said, to at least be a couple 100-yard player by now.
At least be a doesn't make sense player.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Catch one ball. The thing is,
be active on game days.
Yeah, just be active. At least one active roster.
Do something on special teams. Give me something.
Yeah. I mean, special teams. Oh my God. And the thing is too, we just found out today, they're like looking at wide receiver Josh Doctson. Like you have depth. Like from a pure numerical standpoint, you have enough players in the wide receiver room to work with. You have Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Jameer Byrd, Marquise Goodwin, Riley Ridley, and Javon. You have 6 receivers and one who's on the PUP list, on the PUP list. You shouldn't have to be looking for a Josh Doctson. If you want to look for Josh Doctson, fine, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to because you have enough players. But I think that's another one of those things where if he's not bringing him up, you're looking at Josh Doctson. Like, why? You know what I mean?
That I don't hate.
Something. I don't hate it. No, I'm not saying I hate it. Josh Doctson could be a piece. He could be active on game day. Good for me. Good for me.
That guy has at least been on a football field, an NFL football field.
He's been active before. He knows what it's like not to get scratched 2 minutes before
That's a good segue, actually, because like Josh Doctson, I did see that today, and I did think that was actually kind of intriguing because TCU legend Josh Doctson was with the Washington football team, was with the Vikings for a bit.
was something like that.
I think he was, but I think drafted by the Washington football team.
Not that long ago, too. I mean, he was like
that was like four years ago. I want to say not long ago at all. But I mean, that was a guy like he's a former first round pick. You might as well see what you got. Like,
well, this is what the Bears do. They just sign former first round picks.
Well, they didn't sign him. They didn't sign him. They brought him for a workout.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
they brought him in for a workout.
They bring former first round picks in for
workouts. But also like I don't think that's a bad strategy from like a motivation standpoint even. Like you can bring Josh Dotson in and you can be like, hey, Riley Ridley, look who's out there if we want to sign him, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah,
the Riley Ridley thing just it perplexes me. It like legitimately me. Like good word by me right there, right?
Yeah, good job.
But like it legitimately like I have no answers. Like usually, you know, like on the show we have no problem speculating and kind of trying to figure out answers. I got nothing. I got nothing for this guy. Like I don't, because Matt Nagy usually like he'll give you special teams opportunities. He'll give you something.
Yeah.
This guy is thin air. This guy he's dust in the wind. Like it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. Like I've never even seen this guy on the field. Like it's
like look. I have
okay. If there's a listener out there that is listening to this and you're going to training camp, if you can get me video evidence that Riley Ridley exists, I'll Venmo you $5. Like
right,
if you can give me. That. If you can give me video evidence that Riley Ridley is actually out there practicing and like a real person running drills, I will Venmo you $5. Like I just need proof of life of this guy at this point. It makes no sense. At this point, all I have Riley Ridley is a name and a jersey number and former 4th round pick. It makes no sense. God.
Oh my God.
The wide receiver room on this team just drives me up the wall, dude. It drives me nuts.
It's the most interesting position group in all of football. I mean, you've got the weirdest situation with Allen Robinson. You've got Javon Wims fighting players any chance he can. You have Anthony Miller, who's not on the team anymore. Riley Ridley's dust in the air and the wind, as Jake says. You've got, it's hilarious. It's comedy. But Josh Doctrine, real quick, too, before we move on, I know we're talking about a player they just brought in for a workout. 532 yards last time he played was in 2018, 2 touchdowns that year. 2017, 502 yards, 6 touchdowns that year, actually not bad. But the thing is, in 2016, he had a long touchdown 57, 2017, long touchdown 52, 2018, long touchdown of 32. And the reason why this is a good segue and what you need to see in training camp is explosive plays. This is the key to the Bears winning in 2021. Explosive plays, deep ball plays, plays where we're talking about 50+ yards. And we saw one today. We saw Andy Dalton throw a deep ball at Darnell Mooney. We got one clip, Jake. We got one clip. We're recording this on Wednesday, by the way. I'm sure more videos will come up by the time some listeners are listening to this. We got one clip because that's all they give us is one clip. For all we know, Andy Dalton could have thrown 9 interceptions today. But the narrative is he had a great day. He had a great day today because he threw one deep ball to Darnell Mooney. That's the narrative. But no, seriously, the explosive plays are important. So that's what you're going to look out to. Let's go to our predictions, though. I had a few training camp predictions I wanted to make here. And I think you had some as well. Yeah, I know you revealed one of them, Riley Ridley getting a compliment. We have to change that one to Riley Ridley being on the field. And again, if you do see that, Venmo Jake or hit us up in the DMs, email us bearsnationpodcast@gmail.com. We'll get that whole Venmo thing squared away. And it's first, Jake can't be Venmoing a ton of people.
Yeah,
so
it's
first one to message us gets that $5. But my training camp prediction, before we do that, I have one question that's funny. Before we do the training camp predictions, who is this year's training camp hero? Because in the past, let me throw out some names: Tanner Gentry, training camp hero. Daniel Berman, our guy Clifton Duck, simply for the name, was a training camp hero. Who's this year's training camp hero? And the thing, the common theme about this is it's typically a guy who gets cut, which is really sad, but it's a guy who balls off for training camp, does well in the preseason, and then they cut him, which is unfortunate. This year's training camp hero, I guess Ryan Nall falls under that category, you could say, potentially. Potentially. I think... I'm trying to think. I think it's Artie Burns. I think he's the training camp hero.
I don't want to say Artie Burns because
no.
Okay, so are we predicting this as a guy that will do well in training camp and then will just flame out, or is it someone we actually expect to like contribute?
Fine, you can do either. You can do
because
either.
if we're choosing just a training camp like guy who does well and then just flames out, then I'm inclined. Oh man, that one's interesting.
It's kind of hard.
It is kind of hard. Okay. Okay, because I think Artie Burns could legitimately be someone who like performs well and then actually parlays that into the season.
Okay,
I legitimately think that could happen because again, a guy who was a former first round pick and like has played well in the past, but a guy who is gonna flame out after. See, this feels mean almost.
Okay, like fine. Yeah, maybe we should do this segment.
Feels like a mean segment. Especially because people are gonna our guy Josh Woods, we don't want people to come up to and be like, hey man, why are your boys talking crap? But yeah, we don't want that to happen. No, I legitimately think Artie Burns could be somebody, like could be a decent player.
Okay, your girlfriend's in the chat. Would you like to read this comment from her? Comeback player of the year, Saquon or OBJ? I
mean, it's going to be Saquon.
No, it's going to be who was injured for the Bears last year? Who was injured?
Everybody.
The whole Bears are winning. The whole team is winning.
The defense.
Comeback team of the year. I wonder if players who opted out for COVID are eligible for that. You know what I mean?
I doubt it.
In that case, let's go Eddie Goldman. Anyway.
I doubt it, right? That feels
I doubt
like
it. There's no way. That feels like it's kind of cheating. But
it does feel like it's cheating.
My training camp prediction, I have many of them. This is number one. Damien Williams, top performer. That is my big one.
Okay.
This is a rusher. I was looking at his game splits back in the Super Bowl, the Conference Championship divisional round. Next Gen Stats does a thing where they dive into the areas in which the rusher runs best. So they divide into 4 segments. There's left outside, left inside, right outside. And they have a distribution chart of the attempts and the rush yards for each area. And I just wanted to look at that for him to kind of see what kind of runner he is and see what Matt Nagy can scheme up for him. What I noticed, especially in the games where he was most productive, is he was doing most of his work on the outside zones. So you're going to see a lot of outside zone play runs for him. See him kick that speed to the outside and use that to his advantage. But this is, again, like, okay, Tariq Cohen is out. Another player who can step up and kind of fill that void there and be a top performer, because not only is he a very effective rusher, he's a very good receiver as well. And in training camp, there's always going to be that one guy on the offense who's going to turn heads, and this is going to be that guy because he's explosive. And I already talked about explosive plays. This guy had an 84-yard touchdown and a 91-yard touchdown.
Would Damien Williams be like
in 2019?
Would he be a surprising one though?
I think for some people he would. Not to us, Jake, because we talked about this guy a lot and we were very high on him. I don't know, even
if people I feel like because if you paid attention, like I get you can forget about him over the last year, but like because he didn't play last year, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think like if you're paying attention and you know the name Damien Williams, like I feel like you're gonna get, like you're gonna be like, oh yeah, Damien Williams, like good player, like it's somebody who you're gonna recognize,
Yes, but the thing is, and I've been victim of this as well, the way I've kind of evaluated him is we are sort of what's the right word for this? Like we kind of put too much weight on his playoff performances. And fair enough, because if you do it at the best moments, it's deserved. Yeah, recency bias. That's what I was looking for. Like that's warranted, because if you do it at the highest level, then that's what you like to see. You do it in the Super Bowl, okay, that's the biggest moment. But he hasn't necessarily been as productive aside from 2019 in a season in his NFL career. I mean, this guy's a 7-8 year vet now. He's been in the league for a while. He was with Miami for a while. Like it would be interesting to see him actually have a legitimate role, you know what I mean? Because it really hasn't been there for the entirety of his career. And then it was, again, recency bias, kind of top heavy with the playoff performances. So I don't know. I think it would be a little bit of a surprise to people. Like I wouldn't be shocked by it, but I think some people would kind of look at that and say, okay, Damien Williams, he's turning heads. This is something that we should kind of look out for, because again, Jake, Dave Montgomery had such a good ending to last season that people think it's just him in the running room. People think it's just Dave Montgomery, and Dave Montgomery may get 20 carries a game, but this offense, if they want to be as successful as they want to be, it goes far beyond just the success of Dave Montgomery. So that's why I think it's so important.
And we've talked about it on this show before. Like we've talked about how, having an actual, when Damien Williams was signed, we've talked about how having an actual running back that's not Cordarrelle Patterson on third and short or second and short, whatever it is, how we'll actually have somebody who's an actual running back with actual experience be able to take those downs and spell David Montgomery at times, which is going to be huge for this offense and then for what they're able to do, which is going to be good. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you on Damien Williams being a guy that, I guess, turns heads and is like, oh, okay, like this guy, this is going to be a good addition to the offense. But I think if I had to answer the question of who's going to be the breakout training camp player, it's somebody who we talked about before, somebody who on the defense who is going to have familiarity with the scheme. It's got to be Thomas Graham, right? Like, I think he's the guy, outside of Justin Fields and outside of Tevin Jenkins that people are going to be watching. I know he was a 6th-round pick, and Chris Nano used to say that he thought Thomas Graham was a top 3. Yeah, he's a top 30 pick. So I think that's somebody, and we've talked about that. Thomas Graham's old coach is on this staff, and he's going to have familiarities with this defense that other people are not going to be privy to, and guys like Desmond Trufant and guys like Artie Burns aren't going to know it and the complexities and certain things about this defense. So, I mean, I think he's someone that we're going to be watching, and hopefully that we'll be talking about a lot, especially with the kind of up in the air status of the cornerback position.
Exactly. No, that was one of my ones that I tweeted out too. Is I think he emerges as CB3. Honestly, I really think he does. If not CB2, I mean, really, like, I don't know where the gap is between him and Kindle Vildor, who I think would, I guess Desmond Trufant is slotted as CB2, maybe. But, they said Nagy and Pace said good things about Kindle Vildor yesterday, his development and him taking a leap. But, Thomas Graham, he's a young player. But like Chris mentioned, injured, or he opted out, or no, he's injured last year. Injured last year. People have slept on him, and this is his time to break out. This is the time. So I like that one. Thomas Graham, that's going to be a good one to watch. That whole position group is going to be interesting to watch. Cornerback, see how Kindle Vildor develops, because he played well. Kindle Vildor played well in the times, maybe above average, I guess is the way to put it. He made some nice plays, some flashy plays that gave you promise, which is kind of what you're looking for from him. But another player that people have forgot about. Look, I know we're going to talk about Cole Kmet because you sent me that tweet, and Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace say Cole Kmet's going to get more targets and more catch shares. Great. That's fine. Like, whatever. I don't really care that much. But Jimmy Graham is a player people are forgetting about, and I don't want you to forget about him because I don't know why you're making that face. I don't know why you're making that face. Because if anything, Jimmy Graham is the best thing that could possibly happen to a rookie quarterback. Literally the best possible thing that could happen to a rookie quarterback. Like, what that man can do in the end zone is glorious for a rookie quarterback. He had 8 touchdowns last year, 456 yards and 50 receptions. For a player of his age, which I think he's 34. I'm trying to find exactly how old he is. Like, that is efficient. That's efficient for what you're getting out of him. That's what you need. 456 yards, 8 touchdowns, that's fine. But like I mentioned, the moment you get into the red zone, if you can just say, all right, listen, Justin Fields, all you got to do is throw it up to Jimmy Graham one-on-one against whoever it may be. It makes it a lot easier for him. And Jimmy Graham is talented player, and everybody has been shitting on him from the moment he got to Chicago. Everybody is, and even this year, everyone thought that he was the guy that should have been cut instead of Kyle Fuller. Okay, I may agree with that. If I were to pick one player, I obviously would pick Kyle Fuller, but don't underestimate his role in this offense. That's all I'm saying, because red zone efficiency is the most important thing when it comes to being a top scoring offense in the NFL. It comes down to how efficient you are in the red zone and how often you're scoring. The Bears did not do it often, but Jimmy Graham is the key to being more efficient in the end zone. So all I'm saying is don't kind of remove that name from your mind just yet, because he's going to make plays this year in the playoff game. Right at the end of last season, he made one of the best plays of the whole year, that one-handed catch with like 1 second left. Skokes the Hokage has a commenter in the chat, says, I don't believe a word Nagy says anymore. Well, that's the thing too about training camp. Like I really, it's hard because we evaluate this stuff, Jake. I don't try to buy too much into anything they say. It's hard to, especially given the history of them. But when somebody says a quote, we have to talk about it. But this guy is right. Like, don't think too much into it. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the common thing we should think about is don't think so much about it when it's just a one quote, especially from a guy like Matt Nagy, who is typically pretty ambiguous with the things he says.
Right. No, I mean, and going back to kind of just to circle back real quick, like the Danny Trevathan stuff. Oh, he looks great. He looks awesome. Like, yeah, of course he's gonna like. What's he supposed to say? Like, oh yeah, this guy stinks.
Yeah,
like, I mean, right? Like he's not gonna say that. So yeah, I mean, but that's all head coach. That's just coach speak. You know, it's just something you got to kind of pick and choose, and you can kind of pick apart what you can and realize that some stuff you can't. So I mean, it's just one of those things at that point. So. I mean, yeah. And what are you going to do? One other thing that I want to hit on that's kind of important, in my opinion, another training camp injury. Tevin Jenkins is already hurt. I don't love that for a guy that you were expecting to be your left tackle, your starting left tackle as a rookie, and you don't really have a legitimate starter behind him. Your next guy up behind him is Elijah Wilkinson, who, he started games in Denver, but there's a reason he's not there anymore. So it's kind of not great. And Tevin Jenkins is a rookie starting at a position he hasn't really played before and is arguably one of the hardest in the NFL to play. So don't really love that he's missing out on these reps. I mean, he could be back tomorrow. I don't know. He popped up on the injury list. For all we know, he's back tomorrow. Tomorrow being Thursday. Like, as of our purposes right now on Wednesday night, I don't love that because it's kind of scary being in that position already day one of training camp.
Yeah, and there's other guys too. I think Robert Quinn's dealing with a back injury. I'm not going to
Eddie Jackson
list, but that's arguably great, Eddie Jackson. That's wonderful news.
Yeah,
but that's arguably the most concerning of them for what you mentioned. As a rookie, you need the reps. You need to be on the field. You need to take every single minute you can to soak in those reps against good players like Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack on the edge. Like, you need that. That's the one thing too to think about. Actually, he is going against some of the best there. If you get Khalil Mack there on the left side to line up against him, like, yeah, talk about good experience, man. That is it. But yeah, he needs to be on the field for that to happen. Hopefully he heals. Hopefully it's just a little lingering soreness. I don't know, whatever it may be. Do you know what the specific injury was? As long as it's not a back injury, because I swear to God, I, as an athlete, have dealt with back injuries. Every player in the NFL probably deals with back injuries at some point. It's hard for it to go away. Khalil Mack was dealing with back injuries for whoever knows how long, and people thought that has an impact on his season, all that stuff. But I do actually, too, real quick, while you're looking that up, want to talk about Khalil Mack because of what he said today. He went on the mic, which is rare. Khalil Mack doesn't talk to the media very often.
Jenkins was listed. I do. Tevin Jenkins was listed with a back injury.
Of course he was. Yep. Okay. That's
okay. Well,
terrible,
okay. Well, it was listed as back tightness.
Yeah. Okay. That's typical.
So
stuff, man. Go do some cryotherapy. Get a massager, a masseuse, and get that thing over with. All right. Enough of the back tightness. You guys have the best tools in the world. How do we have back tightness? All right. You got
I have
all
back
the
tightness
best.
every day, pal.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't have the world's finest, physical therapy programs and tools and devices. And look, I wake up every morning with back pain, but I think if I had, their facilities, I wouldn't. But that's a conversation for a different day. Khalil Mack goes on the mic.
You're just built different. You're just built different.
I'm built different. Sorry, guys. He said, "We are not satisfied with the result from last year. There's work to be done. Enough talking. I don't do that. I don't like talking about this shit." He said, "I'm not going to say shit. I'm going to show you." I love that, Jake. I absolutely love that because the great ones in all of sports, we already know Khalil Mack is one of the greatest ever. If you're a young kid listening to this podcast, which I think we don't have many of those who listen to this, never go out there trying to persuade people that you're the best because the only way the great ones never have to tell you you're great. They just show you they're great. And that's what Khalil Mack is doing. This is a player who knows he's capable of so much more. You know what I mean? Like, did he have he had an elite season last year. but he knows he could still be so much better than that from a takeaway standpoint, from a sack standpoint, because he knows those are things that people care about. And the other thing too is he didn't blame the injuries. He said, when I'm out there, I'm 100%. I'm not blaming anything on anything. I love that too, because that was the narrative. Well, he's lingering with the shoulder injury, back injury. He's not 100%. Like, I like that he says, look, if I'm out there on Sundays, I was good enough to play. I have the expectation that I should be at my best regardless. If I'm there on Sundays active, if you're listing me as active, I should be, the best player I could possibly be. But I just think what he said there was just kind of, I'm expecting something big from him this season. And as you always are with a player as talented as him, but I've always predicted or hoped for that 20 sack season from him with Chicago. I don't know if this is the year, because Eddie Golden comes back and demands those double teams. But, God, the way he's talking, I hope it is. I hope it is that 20-sack year for him.
No, and I was going to hit on that quote from him, too, that if I'm out there, I'm 100%. Like you said, that's something that you want to hear. Like, he's going to go out there. He's going to give it his all. And we know he was hurt, even if he says that he was 100% when he's out there. Like, he's giving 100% of 80% if he's at 80%. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what he's at, he's giving all of that. So, obviously, he's going to be healthier as of this moment, and we're speaking right now. But I really think that Khalil Mack might have that chip on his shoulder. I think he's kind of got that, like, all right, like, you all go have fun, and he knows he's going against Aaron Donald week 1. Like, he knows there's that matchup. People are going to talk about that week 1, and that's part of the reason it's Sunday Night Football week 1, because Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, like, two guys who are always in the defensive player of the year race going head to head, who's going to get who, and of course, like Stafford playing the Bears, who he's always played against when he was on the Lions, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, that's what people are going to look for, that defensive battle. All right, Aaron Donald gets a sack on the first drive. All right, oh, Khalil Mack's going to go get 2 of them. It's going to be something. Like, it's just going to be something to watch. And I think Khalil Mack knows. I think he knows what the window is. I think he knows where the Bears are at. And it's like, all right, let's go do this thing. Now you just need everyone else to get healthy. Need Eddie Jackson to get healthy. Need Robert Quinn to be healthy. Need Bilal Nichols to be healthy, because he popped up on the injury list too. You got to have people healthy. That's the main thing. Yep, got to stay on the field. Should we talk quarterbacks? Should we dare bring it up, Jake? I mean, should we dare bring it up? I mean, I would say yes, but we have nothing to go off yet. Yeah, we have the world's greatest training camp performance of all time in Andy Dalton. One deep on Darnell Mooney, and we're putting his Hall of Fame. He put him in the Hall of Fame. I will say, people were saying that Andy Dalton can't throw down the field anymore. No. But Jake, see. Oh, Andy Dalton can't throw down the field anymore. Oh, but one deep ball is going to really change your mind. Like this, the only reason, like, I'm mocking this, but because the only reason I'm mocking this is because every single year of Mitch Trubisky's career, it was Mitch looks good in camp. We have the video of Mitch throwing deep. I don't know. This might be the year. And then no, it's not. That's the thing with training camp. That's the thing with training camp. I will always put more stock into who's on the field, who's healthy, as opposed to like individual performance. Here's the thing. Good performances, you don't put stock into. Bad performances, you can put stock into that. You can put stock into. So here's the thing. It's been one day. Next week when we come back and we're back here at our normal time at 7 p.m. on twitch.tv/Chicago for real. 8 p.m. Why did I say? Well, I always think it's 7. I don't know why. Anyway, 8 p.m. But when we're back, we'll have a full week. We'll have probably more video, more hopefully non-injuries and people actually being on the field. And we'll have more stuff Justin threw 3 touchdowns today and he looked great. And Andy threw 4 though. We'll have more of that. And it's going to be really interesting. We're going to have maybe a Riley Ridley sighting for all we know. It's just going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a continuous process, but that's what makes this fun, because we get to pick apart things we know absolutely nothing about. And we are taking the crumbs of information that we get and from the videos, the grainy videos that we get, and we're going from there. Like, that's what makes it fun. And, preseason's in 3 weeks? 2.5 weeks? 2.5, I think, weeks. Actually. So, I mean, we're getting there. We're inching closer. And then once the games actually start, that's when we'll really start seeing these guys and seeing how it's starting to shake out and who's healthy, who's maybe going to make the roster, who's not. And that's what makes it fun. That's why we're in one of the most interesting parts of the season right now. God, Mitch Trubisky versus Justin Fields, Bills versus Bears preseason is going to be so electric.
I mean, who would have thought at this time a year ago that would be the quarterback battle?
Is that game in Buffalo or in Chicago?
No, it's in Chicago, I think. I think it's in Chicago. I think I wanted to go to it, but I'm going to be at school already or something.
See, I feel bad for Mitch. Like that's going to be.
See, no, it's in Chicago. It's in Chicago.
Oh,
See, this is the funny thing though. As I was talking about training camp stuff, I saw Bill's beat reporter today say, watched Mitch Trubisky for about 30 minutes, and did he look sharp? And it's like everyone's like, "Yep, get used to that, buddy. He's gonna look sharp in training camp, and then come preseason, it's not. I hope it does for him. I really hope something works out for him. How I've stood by him in the past. I really hope it does work out for him. But it's just funny to use that historical evidence for
all the Bears fans were like, "Yep, you just wait." Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad ripping Mitch at this point because it's like
I don't rip him. I mean, yeah,
that horse has just been beaten to death so many times. No, it's been beaten to death anymore.
And he's a good man. He just got married. Wish nothing but the best. But I know Bears fans are probably sick of hearing that name in their ears. I don't have anything else, Jake. Do you have anything else to keep me excited here as it's 10:39 on Wednesday night?
I have nothing.
Spice me up, Jake.
I have hit all my points, Kevin.
This is atrocious, unbelievable. But I mean, it's been one day. The fact we got through our 6 minutes after one day of training camp, it's good. Look at us. It's good for us, man. I mean, we should be proud of ourselves. We spent a lot of time talking about Rodgers though, and then about not that much time. I'll probably go back and edit some of that, because some of that is baloney. People don't want to hear the Green Bay stuff all the time, but
except that they suck. But
except they suck. I also do want to say they are doomed. We had to do a tribute to Jake Butt and his services for the Chicago Bears. I just put out a video on Twitter featuring "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston. Thanks to Jake for the song recommendation. Really just an illustrious career with us. Really put his heart and soul into the team. 1 month career, signed June 18th. I don't think even saw the field at all because that was after OTAs, and then retired on the first day of training camp. Nothing but the best to Jake Butt. Thank you for your services here in Chicago. The fan base will always love you. Katie, the headband, will not be making a return to the show because you roasted me, and I am now feel bad about it.
Hat guy now.
I take the hat influence from Jake. Jake has influenced me to become a hat guy. I think you wear a hat on like every show. No, that's not true. You don't.
Not every show. It just shows that my hair is out of control. We are getting a haircut tomorrow.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's my Thursday plans. But anyway, nobody cares about that. So let's wrap it up. This has been another edition of Bears Nation Podcast. Thank you to everyone who came through the stream. Thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you to all of you who listened. We appreciate you all. We'll be back next week, twitch.tv/Chicago for Real, 8 p.m. We'll be back to break down the rest of training camp, everything we hear. If not, catch it on the podcast, everywhere you get your podcast. For myself, for Kevin, this has been Bears Nation Podcast, parentheses after dark, and parentheses. We'll catch you next time. Thank you. And as always, bear down.
Bear down.